what I would suggest is just moving your troop meeting to a different. Oh, hey guys, sorry. Wow, that's awkward. Well, welcome to another usual roundtable where nothing actually is completed and nobody goes away with what they want to hear. Just kidding. Welcome to the COVID-19 edition of the Connecticut Rivers Council first roundtable. Hey, welcome to you. I want to just let you guys know that we've got some amazing people gathered here to speak to you. Hopefully answer some questions if Sean Fogel can figure out the technology. He's the cutest little Cub Scout Connecticut Rivers Council has to offer. So with that, I just would like to introduce some of the people speaking to you tonight. We'll be welcoming Stephen Smith in just a few minutes to give you address. We've got Council Commissioner Dave Lee. We've got Alex Cantor, someone who nobody or very few of you have had the opportunity to meet. He's a great resource and you're going to want to meet him. Then we've got Jenny Roberts, who will be delivering a wonderful speech or presentation. I got Fred Lawrenson and Zach Files here to talk about the National Youth Leader Training coming up. And I've got Dave Grolke, who is going to be doing an amazing presentation on Wood Badge. And then at the end, we're going to be welcoming a special guest to discuss all the advancement in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So with that, let me welcome Stephen Smith, our council executive, who is going to take it away right now.
Hey, thanks, Chip, for having me out today. Really appreciate it. You know, the scouting motto is be prepared. And you know, I can't think of a more appropriate phrase than going through what we're doing right now. We've all gathered all over the council and separate communities to have our roundtables, and a group of volunteers said, you know what, we're still going to do it. And we're still going to have that scouting program. And you all stepped up. And that's what scouting is all about. When Baden-Powell talked about being prepared, he said, it's a state of readiness in your mind and your body to do your duty. And I think everybody in this council has done that in the last few weeks. Out at camps, they've been turning our 3D printers into printing masks. And we've taken all of our first aid supplies in the camps and donated them to first responders. And the guy you're going to meet shortly, Alex, has put together some incredible merit badge clinics for our kids to do. And he's working with all of the volunteers to make it all come together. I want to thank all of you, all of our leaders, for stepping up and continuing the scouting program for our kids. Because without you, we can't do it. And we know that you make a difference. Now, the political announcement from the training committee, while you're sitting home bored of binge watching all of those shows on Netflix, think about catching up with some of the training, like your specific leader training, and maybe even your YPT. I know Mr. DeRosa would be very happy to get 100% of his YPT over the top. So, Chip, back to you, and thank you all for checking in tonight and seeing what we've got to offer and program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I just want to tell you, it's not just Netflix you can sit and binge watch. Hulu has some great programming. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, The Curse of Oak Island, they've got the 2019 season on. But before you do that, don't get cursed. Don't repeat your YPT. Get it done now. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Council Commissioner Dave Lee. Welcome tonight, Dave.
Thanks, Chip. Always a pleasure to be with you and all these fine folks here. Now, if I can do this right, I'm going to try to share my screen because I like slides, but Kevin hasn't allowed me to do that yet. So, Kevin, over to you. Let's try to make this work properly, Kevin. All right, well, we'll skip the slides then. So, some of you may have seen this before. We've been through this before. I would like to say that if you've ever had, when I say we've been through this before, the Boy Scouts have been through this before. I'll talk about that in a minute. But these are certainly trying times, or times that try men's souls and women's souls. If you had stay at your home for March and April on your annual planning calendar, I want you to give me the lottery tickets for the rest of the year, please. Few topics that we want to address here. One is, as we said, we've done this before. Boy Scouts have had issues in the past, and the 1935 National Jamboree was canceled due to an outbreak of polio. We were resilient then. We followed through on following that event, and we expect to continue after this one as well. Your Commissioner Corps is dedicated to ensuring units continue to bring a scouting program to units of all types. Units across the council are using web-based means to conduct unit meetings, conduct committee meetings, boards reviews, and even service projects. We encourage you to invite your unit commissioner to participate. And as always, please keep youth protection protocol in mind when conducting online meetings. Speaking of online stuff, again, you're probably going to hear this quite a bit, but it is now a great time to review all your training, including YPT. Even if it's not due for a refresher, please take the time to refresh it. It's not going to hurt you. As far as summer camp planning, we are continuing with that effort. We're still marching forward with getting our camps ready for another successful summer camp season. Our camp directors and program staff are developing plans. And in the event of the summer schedule doesn't look like what we are typically used to, we will be prepared and ready to deliver a quality summer experience. And more details will be released on that as they become available. As far as other events that are happening around, the Arrow to the Arrow conference in August is still ongoing. The fall East and West encampments are still being planned, and the 21 National Jamboree is continuing as planned. As those more updates will be provided on those as things change, if they do. The other issue is that everybody wanted to talk about was redistricting. And as many of you know, the plan to consolidate from 8 traditional scouting districts down to 4 was approved by the council's executive board in March. And I want to thank Bill Shea, Lonnie Moe, and Andy Zilnick for their efforts in making this happen. And please do note that we did take into consideration things as school district boundaries, community affiliations, and even means of travel in determining the final district boundaries. And I'd show you a nice little slide of what it looked like right now, but I can't do that. But I'll try to talk you through it. So in the northwest corner, it's pretty much status quo with the exception of the Northwest Hills kind of taking in a little bit of Mad River District, but mostly it's the same. Moving across the top, the old Mattituck District now includes most of Hockenham and Mark Twain. And then moving across Northwest Northeast area includes part of Hockenham and all of Nipmuc. And then as you move south, the Old Mohegan District is now combined with most of Mattabassa Trails. And so that will be becoming effective in May, and the new leadership for those districts will be appointed by the council president, Eric Remington, at the annual meeting. District committees will be responsible with staff support for determining their district names, subject to the approval of the Scout executive, and also determining locations for meetings and roundtables. We expect the new districts to be in full swing by September, and keep in mind, there will be a job for everyone who wants to continue in some form or fashion. Who knows, it might even be a good time to take over that job you were complaining somebody else is not doing what good at. Council President Eric Remington at the annual meeting. So I've probably gone over my 5 minutes, but I wanted to express my gratitude to the professional staff and their efforts at navigating this uncertain time. And while this is an avocation for most of us, this is their vocation and as well as their avocation. And with our in-person fundraising efforts wiped out this spring, anyone who can contribute in any amount would be greatly appreciated. And I'd like to thank our Assistant Council Commissioner for Roundtables, Mr. Goss, for spearheading this event. Who knows, these things may become a regular thing in the future. And in closing, we do provide the youth of Connecticut with the skills to be resilient in life. And if there's anything our country needs now, it's resiliency. So thank you for all you do for scouting, and enjoy the rest of the event. And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, you weren't supposed to go on until now. So, hey, can you fill in another 5 minutes? Just kidding. Hey, I've had the opportunity, the honor of working with this gentleman for a little while now. And I just want to say this gentleman is very a capable leader. He's coming from, geez, I can't even remember. But I want him to share with you guys in the next few minutes his vision of what the next couple weeks to a couple months are going to look like. So without any further ado, I'd like Alex Cantor to be front and center and share with everybody his vision.
All right, thanks, Chip. I appreciate the introduction there. Just over the last couple of weeks, it's been a little strange getting to know everybody in this weird environment, but honestly, it's been great to working with the volunteers, so I'm really excited to be here. You may have heard and seen the ads that we ran prior to this roundtable. We've got a ton of program that's still happening. Scouting has not gone away in any capacity at all. We have a ton of opportunities at all levels available for everyone to participate in, and more coming every day. You may have seen our virtual merit badge experience. Every week we're offering between 5 and 10 virtual merit badges over Zoom. It's been a huge success. The classes are selling out quickly. We typically announce these classes on Wednesdays, so keep an eye on our Facebook page and our e-newsletter to see when those announcements come. Space is very limited and they do fill up quickly, so you'll want to keep an eye on that. We hope to have next week's class announcements on Wednesday, like I said. We've also got a virtual 5K coming up. It's a very cool idea that we're trying here in Connecticut Rivers. The race is going to kick off Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on April 18th, Saturday, April 18th. We're going to have an opening ceremony. The race will kick off. You run your 5K around your neighborhood, your backyard, on your treadmill, in place, in your bedroom, wherever you want to. Share your times to see how you finished. Sign up is live now on our website. And if you have any questions, email those over to Kevin. We also have a virtual camporee coming up in a couple of weeks, April 25th to the 26th. Tons of at-home scouting activities. This is a free event, so everyone can participate. There's an opening ceremony, outdoor cooking, crafts, Scout Zone service, campfire program in the evening. If you have any questions about that, you can email Sean. And we will have a patch available for purchase as well. So for those of you that are patch collectors, don't worry, we've got you covered there. And lastly, we are hoping to expand our virtual offerings through adult training, NOVA awards, Cub Scout adventures, and other merit badges. If you are able to teach any of these things and want to participate, send me an email at alex.cantor@scouting.org, and I'll be happy to make the arrangements for you. Thank you all for welcoming me to this council. It's been great. I look forward to meeting you all in person very, very soon. Back to you, Chip.
Thank you, Alex. And by the way, I should have mentioned in my introduction, which was so poorly written, that you are now the council director of program or program director responsible for putting on these activities. And I know you've got some really good vision going forward. And I want to welcome you and thank you for really grabbing the ball and running full speed ahead, especially in this trying time. So thank you, Alex. All right, so moving right along, I just want to echo on what everybody said so far, Mr. Smith, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Cantor. Online programming. There is some fabulous, fascinating programs available to have meetings online, whether it's your pack, your troop, your crew. I know my daughter's troop has had 2 virtual meetings. The crew is putting together a meeting for next Tuesday. There's opportunities through Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Classroom will have has a functionality. It's just a matter of reaching out and finding what works for your unit. A lot of units are doing this, and I'd like to encourage you all to go ahead, and if you're not virtually meeting, please, the kids need social interaction, even if it's over the screen. We need to keep the kids home to flatten the curve, but let's get as much normalcy back in our kids' lives. And if that means having a meeting over this, like Zoom that we're doing now, please, by all means, if you need help to get online for a virtual meeting, reach out to your unit commissioner, reach out to the council commissioners or your district commissioners. They've all gotten a little bit of a knowledge and information drive and direction on where to go to have these meetings. And also, don't forget, we still have a service project functionality where we can do service projects for our community, for our chartered organizations. You know, nobody, the social distancing is one thing, but you could have your kids go out with gloves and mask on and go out and clean the streets, you know, traffic permitting. I know I live in a very rural setting, and my kids have gone up and down the street with garbage bags. But that's service, and there are countless opportunities. Scout in our own council and council north of us are making the mask headband adapters on their 3D printers. So there's plenty of opportunity for service projects, big and small, to get the kids even outside and doing things. Even starting at like a community garden or a victory garden out in your backyard. You email order the seeds from like Burpee or one of the nursery companies. Start the seeds now. It's just a great little project that you can do. So with that being said, I'd like to bring up Miss Jenny Roberts, who is our Cub Country Day Camp Director at June Norcross Webster Scout Reservation, and have her give you guys a presentation on all the wonderful Cub Scout programming opportunities that we have available. We are going full steam ahead, planning for a full season. We do have opportunities or program plans in place just in case fine tailoring needs to be met, but we are going full speed ahead. So with that, Jenny, back over to you.
Thank you, Chip. Hi, everyone. Miss Jenny here for not only J.N. Webster, but for Camp Mattatuck and Camp Warcomen. A lot of our Cub Scouts have received this flyer in the mail, and now would be a good time to remind your families, take a look at the different opportunities that we have at all 3 of our camps. We have 12 different day camp weeks at all 3 of the camps. The theme is, this year, Adventures Through Time. So for Camp Webster, there are 6 different theme weeks that go along with Adventures Through Time. New this year is busing, and some of you might have seen this busing schedule for Camp Mattatuck and Camp Webster. It's 2 weeks out of each area, and it's just a small additional fee, but the kids will get on the bus and head on out to camp. So that's a new added feature this year for those of you who hadn't heard that. We also have an amazing Weeblos overnight camp, 5 weeks at Camp Mattatuck, 6 weeks at Warcomen, and 1 week at Webster. This is all Weeblo based programming for the Scouts at all 3 of the camps. We also have a Cub Scout mini week or overnight. There's 12 different sessions, and a lot of those sessions can be combined to make a full week of programming at all of our camps. All of this information is online at ctscouting.org/camping. There's also a new help forum for this year. It's under the resources and forums and health and safety. And there's just one added sheet and a couple of signatures, but really take a good look at that new health forum. It's kind of important as you go for the physicals coming up in June and right before camp. Also, we've extended our campership program to May 15th. And that's for those who are in need or assistance sending every scout to camp. There is also no late fee for signing up. So feel free, send me any quick questions you might have. You can also visit our camp pages. Each one has its own Facebook page and its own website. So again, if you haven't talked to your scouts, your Cub Scouts, this is a great brochure with lots of really awesome information inside. It's got all the dates. So Chip, that's my exciting news. I can't wait. I'm collecting and creating costumes on a daily for camp. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Just to let you know, I'm looking forward to this summer so very much. I just hope we all get the opportunity to share as much time as possible at our favorite location, whatever it may be. So thank you very much, Miss Jenny.
You're welcome.
I just want to, during this difficult time, we're also thinking that, you know, it's we should be having meetings to keep our members engaged. We should be having service projects, however big or small they are. But there are kids in our communities that still need scouting now, probably more than ever. And most of these kids are our scouts' friends, whether they're our own children or children in our units. I know, listening on the daily after my daughter's done doing her schoolwork on Google Classroom, I can listen to her on FaceTime talking to some of her really good friends. And they don't have, some of those kids don't have scouting. And this is probably an opportune time to invite these kids who need the scouting to a virtual classroom or virtual meeting, excuse me. So now might be a great time to try to build membership. And just to invite them in, get a little bit of a communication going on with their friends from school, and see this is a, you know, a low impact, high or a low, you know, high impact function with low risk for a lot of kids who might have sensory issues or whatnot, just to see what scouting is all about. This is an awfully good time, tongue-tied, to bring some new kids on board. And with that, we'll move over to some of the older kids in the units. Mr. Fred Lorenzen, who is the Scoutmaster course director for NYLT. Mr. Lorenzen, would you like to take over for me?
All right, fine. Good evening, everyone. My name's Fred Lorenzen. My regular scouting role, I'm the troop committee chair with Troop 76 in Simsbury. This year, I'm also the NYLT course director for Connecticut Rivers Council. And I'd also like to acknowledge Zach Files. He couldn't be here tonight. He's our youth course director. Zach's an Eagle Scout that came up through Troop 203 in Windsor, and he's currently a sophomore at UConn. So Kevin, could you pull up the presentation, please? All right, here we go. So we can go to the next slide then. All right, so NYLT is National Youth Leadership Training. It's BSA's Advanced Leadership Training Program for youth members. It's conducted at the council level following the national curriculum, and it's a scout-led experience that in 1 week at camp simulates a month in the life of a troop. And the course content is very similar to Wood Badge. Go next slide. All right, NYLT is centered on the concept of what a leader must be, what a leader must know, what a leader must do, and all of that has a focus on how to. So the scouts during that week, these principles, these skills, they all come together as their patrol is on a quest for the meaning of leadership. Next slide. Okay, up here we go. The NYLT toolbox. I'm not going to read all of these. You can see it for yourself, but these are the skills that scouts are going to come back from NYLT knowing. And I think you all would like to see this in the scouts in your units. So next slide, please. All right, so what is the unit gain from NYLT, right? You get scouts that have vision to take your unit to the next level. They can set goals, they'll develop a plan, they'll make it happen. They'll have the skills to lead others, resolve conflicts, and overcome obstacles. And they can relate to the concepts that you've earned in Wood Badge. And maybe best of all, you get scouts that do the heavy lifting while you get another cup of coffee. So next slide. All right, and then what is the scout gain from NYLT? They get confidence and self-esteem. They have a sense of responsibility. They get life skills that are applicable not only in scouting, but also at home and at school. And they get leadership ability that they can carry forward with them into their professional career. And they'll learn a bunch of great activities that reinforce scouting skills and concepts that they can bring back to the unit. And they get great memories of having fun with new friends. Next slide. So got a couple slides full of pictures. I would really like to take the time and explain this to all of you, but I know we've got to keep it moving. We have a schedule tonight, but I think you can see in these slides, these scouts They're having fun, they're learning things, they're developing as a team. It's a great environment. So who should attend? It's scouts who are currently in a leadership role, and also high potential scouts that are expected to be future leaders, both male and female scouts. And I also have to say what NYLT is not, just to make sure it's clear. It's not a reform school for scouts with behavior issues, and it's not a boot camp for the unmotivated scout. NYLT is teaching the already performing scouts the skills that are needed to advance to a higher level. So to participate, they have to be a current BSA member, a unit leader recommendation, of course, the medical form. There's also a code of conduct form, and you can see the requirements for the different programs. In the Scouts BSA, it is a minimum of first class required. For venturing and Sea Scouts, really just looking that they have some camping experience. It's not a camping school, but they are going to be camping for the week, so we like them to be comfortable in that. And in any of the programs, they need to have completed the Intro to Leadership Skills for that program. So the details, it's Monday, August 10th through Saturday, August 15th at JN Webster. The cost is $325 for the week. There's a link there to the council website where you can get more information, although probably it won't work as a link since you're watching on Facebook. But if you go to the council website, just search on NYLT, it'll bring you to this page that has a lot of good information. The one thing we're missing here, we're still working on it. There is no link from this information page to the actual registration page yet. But if you go to the calendar and go to August 10th on the calendar, NYLT will link you to that registration page. The limit we're putting on registrations right now is only 2 scouts per unit to give everybody a chance to get in. But once we hit June 1st, we're going to open that up and you can have additional scouts from your unit sign up. And registration is limited to 80 participants. But once we hit 80, we will have a waiting list. And that'll let us keep going after that, maybe bring a few more people in. And if you don't find the information you need on the council website, you could email me, crc2020nylt@gmail.com. That's a dedicated email address for NYLT that I've set up, or also my cell phone number is there. And from that information page on the council website, there is a link to a brochure that has pretty much everything that was in these slides and also the contact information. So thank you very much. I hope we get a great bunch of scouts at NYLT. And Chip, will send it back to you. Thank you.
You guys, thank you, Fred. You guys are all speeding through. We're a good few minutes ahead. So looks like people might be able to enjoy a little bit of the beautiful evening that we have to go out and make some s'mores or whatnot. Enjoy a nice little cup of coffee, iced coffee, light cream and 2 equals is the way I take it, just in case anybody's interested. So with that, I've got a very important question. Have you heard about Wood Badge? Well, this next gentleman is here to teach you all about the upcoming Wood Badge course. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Dave Grolke. Dave, take it away.
Thank you, Chip.
Well,
good evening, everyone. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about Wood Badge, but first I'd like to draw my attention to the people who have not heard about Wood Badge, or may not have heard about Wood Badge, or not have taken Wood Badge. Wood Badge is advanced leadership training. The purpose of Wood Badge is simple. Wood Badge gives you knowledge to strengthen the scouting program, whether you're in Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, or venturing. Wood Badge teaches you concepts and tools and methods needed to be an effective leader. It doesn't teach you the camping skills and the first aid skills, which you learn otherwise. Wood Badge teaches you the leadership skills, and then it provides you these opportunities to develop and apply them to your applications in your own program. These skills that you learn will help you become a more effective leader in scouting, perhaps in your career, your family, and in your community life. As an example of this past week, I was reflecting on my own Wood Badge training. And I was thinking about the stages of team development as I was working with my group at work, and we were a very high-performing team before we were forced to work remotely. And now we find ourselves struggling at times. And I would dare say that we were storming and perhaps even forming again. And these are some of the skills that you learn of how to improve yourself from one stage to the next so that we can begin norming again and finally performing in this new environment. But it's these skills that you learn in Wood Badge that you can apply elsewhere. The Wood Badge course has been retooled. It looks more like the program that Fred has described for the youth members in NYLT. The course objectives are simple. First, examine your own leadership skills by recognizing your own strengths. And there are programs and classes that are taught to help you with that. Then you practice and improve your leadership skills. You communicate effectively to build relationships within the teams. Ultimately, you're guiding youth and other leaders, other adult leaders, in the development of their leadership skills. And finally, it's to strengthen your commitment to living and teaching the values of scouting, of the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. The new Wood Badge course has been retooled to be only 5 days instead of 6, which most people are accustomed to. The first weekend is going to be a year from now, April 16th, 17th, and 18th. And the second weekend will be a month later in May of 2021. The course is going to be held at Camp Mattatuck in Plymouth, Connecticut. And the course fee right now is $250. Now, I would like to talk to the Scouters who have taken Wood Badge. You know the value of these leadership skills that Wood Badge has taught you. You may have taken it, Wood Badge for the 21st century, or you may have even taken it earlier. But you've probably benefited from the training, either consciously or subconsciously. You probably know someone who could benefit from this training. What I ask is that you pass this information along to those people. You can find the information at ctscouting.org/wood-badge, or you can click on the link in the CT Scouter newsletter. You can download the invitation and return it to me at n26621@gmail.com. All of that information is contained at those sites. I look forward to getting invitations from many of you so that you too can experience Wood Badge. Thank you, Chip.
Thank you, Dave. Great presentation on Wood Badge. I know I benefited from my Wood Badge N26615 greatly, and I want to extend my appreciation for everybody who was on staff or who took the course, whether it was my course or previously or since. They've played an immensely important role in scouting, and there is a great benefit to taking the class. Which brings me, directs me to bring up another point. You mentioned the CT Scouter newsletter, which is an email newsletter. Some of you may not receive it. If you're not receiving it, please go to, send an email to Sean.Fogle, SEAN.FOGLE @scouting.org, and let him know that you would like to receive Connecticut Scouter e-newsletter. This is where all the information is coming from, and if you don't see it on Facebook, or if you are now seeing, oh, there we go. Thanks, Kevin, for bringing that up. You can see that right at the new website, ctscouting.org. I'll tell you what, Sean, Kevin, Mike Brown, the rest of the crew at the council office have been doing a great job bringing us into the 21st century, and they're doing a really good job. The new website is great for registration, and you saw right there that you can go right to the website and sign up. If you're not seeing this on Facebook, but you're seeing this on YouTube or another method, you may not be on Facebook. So please sign up for the Connecticut Scouter e-newsletter. It's a great way to get all the news. And it's one central location to find out what's going on in the council. And with that, I'd like to pass this on to the Council Advancement Chair, Mr. Ray Hurdy. Ray, I believe you've got some wicked good information to share with everybody for advancement in this time.
I don't think I've ever heard wicked good and advancement together in the same sentence, but,
But they
thanks,
should
Chip.
be.
No, they should be. You're absolutely correct. What I'd like to do is just take a few moments and talk about some of the information that's being sent out about COVID-19 and advancement. I don't have a lot of time to get into all the details. Advancement, as a lot of people know, is all about nitty-gritty, nitpicky little details. So we're going to dip into some of the details, but we're also going to do a little bit of a flyby. And to start with, I just want to let you know that everything that I'm talking about can be found on scouting.org. If you go to their main site, scouting.org, and there's a red box on the first screen, you click on it, it's about COVID-19, and it has a lot of FAQs. A lot of this material come from the FAQs. You can also get it if you have this book right here, which is the Guide to Advancement. That's the Bible for those of us that do work in advancement. And you can get that at scouting.org/advancement. And finally, Brian on Scouting has been a good resource. Although I find that Brian's articles lately with respect to advancement during COVID have been pretty much a repackaging of what you can get on the FAQs at scouting.org. But just to get started, let's start with Cub Scouts. I want to bring up the issue of Scout Book. A lot of Cub Scout packs, maybe not a lot now, but there are still some out there, don't use Scout Book. And now would be a great time to get your Cub Scout pack using Scout Book. It's just a wonderful way to connect without physically having to be present. It allows a lot of insight into all the Scouts' advancement. So please spend some time if you haven't done that yet. It also provides us at the Council Advancement Committee with great JTE numbers, relative to advancement. Something that, we're a little lacking with the Cub Scouts. We have a hard time getting those statistics. The second thing I'll tell you, and this is the most important, I think, is that the guidance that came out with respect to COVID-19 and Cub Scouting, the most significant thing there, I think, is that parents can sign off on Webelos and Arrow of Light requirements through July. That's new. You couldn't previously do that, and you can only do it now through July. So that's something to take advantage of. You don't need a unit leader to sign off for Webelos and Arrow of Light Scouts. Now on to Scouts BSA. Something that comes up all the time, and it really hasn't changed with COVID-19, is the fact that does this time right now count towards a position of responsibility, and also does it count towards being active? And the answer is going to be yes, it will. Okay. And you say, well, we're not even meeting. How could it be active? Well, it says that the scout has to meet the reasonable expectations that are set forth by the unit. Well, it's unreasonable to meet because we can't, right? We're prevented from meeting. So I would advise you, though, to spend some time and maybe to retool your reasonable expectations and to put them out there and make your scouts aware of them, because there can be some expectations with respect to online meetings or community service or some other being active events that don't necessarily require a group. But it's up to you to define those, and it's also up to you to communicate those to the scouts. And then even beyond that, though, the scouts also, usually when there's a contention on this point, favor falls towards the scout, which is a good thing. But I would also counsel you that be a little lenient, a little more lax with this one. Sometimes troops in particular want to hold on to these. These are our being active guidelines, and you haven't been to 37 campouts, and therefore you haven't met to be active. Well, you got to be a little more flexible than that, because noteworthy endeavors in and out of scouting also qualify. And that's school, for example, would qualify as being active in scouting. Merit badges online are being done virtually all the time right now. Council's offering a ton of merit badge classes that you can take online. Brian just did an article about 58 merit badges that could be completed online, which I'd encourage you to look at. One thing I'll tell you, and Brian mentions this too, is that youth protection is important. No one-on-one contact, too deep leadership. And this is interesting, because they tend to just say that. What does that mean, really? So let's say that you were in a Zoom conference with a scout. So if you're in a physical conference, for example, you as a merit badge counselor, it would be you, the scout, and the parent if the scout came to your office, for example, because you were going through some of your work, or at least two other adults, right? Or you and another adult. It could be a scouter, doesn't need to be a scouter. But the point is, online, it has to be the same thing. And this point is kind of glossed over, and I think it's very important. There's a related point when it comes to doing boards of review via video conference. And one of the key points there is that you have the scout waiting in one room, you have the board members all on video, no one's in the same place, but in the same place physically as the scout is either their parent or two adult leaders. And their purpose, and they have to be present in the video, and their purpose is, in the beginning, is they're there to make sure that meeting is safe for the scout. It's adhering to all the guidance, right? And then after the thing starts, they go away for a board review. I would say they don't go away for merit badge counseling. So if I were going to do merit badge counseling via video chat right now, I would make sure that the parent is always there with the scout. I may also have another adult leader who's looped in via video, but I'm not so sure that two adult leaders on video with just the scout on the other in his video would be enough for me to feel comfortable, given what they're saying about Eagle board of reviews via video chat. They haven't talked about it for merit badge counseling. They just say, you have to do merit badge counseling with too deep with no one-on-one contact. But that's my 2 cents on that. There's a lot of COVID-19 FAQs about merit badge counseling in that thing that I referenced earlier. I will say, while we're on the topic of merit badge counselors, that just a heads up for all your merit badge counselors out there, there are 1,209 registered merit badge counselors in the council right now. Last I checked. One of the things we've been doing is we've been trying to keep our scout book merit badge counselors up to date, which is a good thing. So you should find that list is fairly accurate. The other thing that I'll tell you about scout book and merit badge counselors is that merit badge people, no one can self-select as a merit badge counselor anymore in scout book. That used to be a chronic problem in scout book, is that people would just say, I'm a merit badge counselor in scout book, and there was no way for us to control that. Well, that's prevented now in scout book, which I think is a really good thing. But a heads up to all those 1,209 merit badge counselors that every year we're required, council is required to re-register all merit badge counselors. And merit badge counselors are registered with us, with the council, and their registration lasts for 1 year. It expires on June 30th of every year. And shortly, you'll start seeing some information from us about this. It's handled through the districts. Oh, I'm seeing Chip there. Oh. Oh, he's not saying much, but there it goes. So it's handled through the districts, and there'll be information coming out both from council and through the districts in the form of emails. But I'll give you a heads up, get your YPT done. Your YPT will need to be current through August 1st of this year, at least. That's the minimum. The other thing is make sure that your My.Scouting address information is accurate. The address information in My.Scouting for a merit badge counselor is what appears on the merit badge counselor list and is what goes into Scout Book for merit badge counselors. So as long as your My.Scouting account is linked to our council, and there's a way to do that in My.Scouting, as long as you're linked, all the information that you're managing all the time by yourself is going onto the merit badge counselor list. And we don't need to the advancement committee doesn't need to get involved in that process. So make sure that your address information is up to date. The other one that I'll tell you, which is different for this year, 2 more things. One of them is that Rechartering couldn't be done unless everybody signed a background check authorization form. And that form last year gave council the ability to go do a background check every 5 years instead of just once when you first signed up. Well, there's some mayor badge counselors who aren't also unit leaders that we're going to need those background check forms from. Also, we don't want to miss somebody. So one of the things we're going to do is we're just going to ask every mayor badge counselor to sign a new one. Even if you sign one as a unit leader, please just sign another one. There'll be instructions on how to give it back to us, but we think it's very important from a youth protection point of view that we have those background check authorization forms, even if it means a little bit of redundant effort on your part. So please get that done. You can do that now and then just wait for the instructions on where to send that stuff. So we're moving on. The next topic is video conferencing boards of review. This is in the Guide to Advancement. Remember, scouting.org/advancement. It's the first thing on the page, on that page, and it's section 8.0.1.6. We in advancement always love to quote those section numbers, so it's 8.0.1.6 on page 56. And there's been tips about video conferencing board of reviews on ctscouting.org and also on Brian on Scouting. If you're doing an Eagle board, and we gave those tips out, we put them out on our ctscouting.org, or we're about to. I'm not sure if they've been published yet, but we wrote up a whole bunch of tips because we've done a couple of, in this case, they were Eagle board reviews, but we did them in Mohegan District, and we learned an awful lot. So we took what we learned and we put them into, here's some tips for doing it. And we'll have that up on the website. We'll probably be sending out in an email blast. One of the things when we're talking about the Eagle rank that the Guide to Advancement says is that you need permission from council to conduct an Eagle board review via video conferencing. We early on, about a month ago, I think, Stephen Smith granted blanket authority to have Eagle board reviews done via video conferencing. So we were early on that move. So you don't need any additional permission to conduct an Eagle Scout board review under video conferencing. Even though it says it in the Guide to Advancement, you already have that permission. It's already been granted. At some point when COVID-19 clears up, that permission will go away, right? It's going to be based on the current circumstances. One of the things that's very important, I think, I was talking about how the board of review starts for an Eagle board of review, or any board of review for that matter, actually, in a video conferencing scenario. And the key element there is that the scout is waiting somewhere. You know, if you look at the way board of reviews work, they all work almost the same way. Ranks or Eagle board of review. And the way they work, they start off where the board members meet by themselves. They bring in the scout, they question, they have a discussion with the scout leaves for a moment, the board deliberates, the scout comes back and here's the results. Well, how do you do that in a video setting? You have to plan for that, and that could mean that the scout leaves the video conference. It could mean that you use some other technique, like Zoom, for example, has what they call a waiting room feature. And our documentation I mentioned earlier, the tips, we also have a tip on a page of documentation on how to turn on the waiting rooms for Zoom, because they're not on by default, and so you have to learn how to turn them on. But what they allow you to do, when the waiting rooms are turned on, everybody who joins your meeting is put into the waiting room. The host then brings people into the main meeting, but the host can at any time move someone from the main meeting into the waiting room. And when they're in the waiting room, they can't see what's going on or hear what's going on in the main meeting, and you can't see or hear what they're doing. They're sequestered. But it eliminates the need for, well, you need to leave the meeting and come back, or we'll text you, or we'll phone call you, all that kind of legwork that's going on. It's hard enough to do a board of review video conferencing just because of all the communication issues, and you can't get the body language and the visual cues, and and so you want to eliminate as much of the roadblocks as possible. So Zoom's waiting room is a really neat feature of that. And then finally, the process I wanted to talk about a little bit was the process for requesting an extension to earn the Eagle Scout rank. There's some big news in here, and the biggest news is that a local scout executive can grant an extension request for more time to work on the Eagle Scout rank. That's not ever true. Under normal circumstances, all extension requests go to national. The guidance for this is in the Guide to Advancement. It's section 9.0.4.0 and 9.0.4.1. Starts on page 73. Brian also did an article on this, but it pretty much parrots what's going on in the Guide to Advancement. From the Scouts' point of view, actually, not much has changed. There's a pretty elaborate process for requesting an Eagle Board of Review. We're trying to slim that down. I actually have documentation out there right now in trial form to try to streamline the process, because we're anticipating an increased number of these. Usually, Eagle extension requests are a little bit messy. There's a lot of different points of view, and you have to do an awful lot of due diligence to create the summary documentation and then the final position paper that the advancement committee writes as a recommendation. It requires a lot of face-to-face meetings and statements in order to get that information all together. Probably not so in COVID-19 related delays, provided that COVID-19 is the only reason for the delay. So if there's something else going on in addition to COVID-19, excuse me, you would not be eligible to have the Scout Executive grant a 3-month extension. Those extensions would follow the normal process and they would go to national for judgment. But in a nutshell, basically what happens is it starts with a letter. That letter can come from the Scout's parents, our guardian, unit leader, and in there, we want a statement of what's going on. Now, obviously, COVID-19 is a pretty big statement all by itself, and our guidance talks about that. It says that COVID-19 pretty much meets 2 of the 5 conditions that are necessary to have a board of an extension. And so all you have to do is mention that, but it's got to be specific. COVID-19, I couldn't do my Eagle service project because we couldn't meet to do it, or I needed 10 or 12 people to do it, and there was no way I could do it with 3, and so I was delayed. Whatever it is, important, it only applies to Life Scouts. Star Scouts won't apply, and you could come up with a scenario where a Star Scout, because he's delayed, would not become a Life Scout with enough tenure left to earn his Eagle, 6 months. And in that scenario, once he becomes a Life Scout, he would apply for an extension. So these extensions in the abridged form, what we're looking for is a request letter, a statement from either the Scoutmaster and or the Scout, depending upon who wrote the letter. We want the other one to write the statement. Everything's got to be signed and dated. We want their advancement report from Scout Book. Make sure it's synced up, right? It can't just be pending. It's got to be actually synced up. And a few other things. And we're writing some documentation right now and working with a few people that have made these requests. But once we get that documentation, I don't envision that we're going to do a whole lot of face-to-face interviews or video interviews. I would really like it to be the unit and the Scout prepare the information that we need, and we get all of it in one shot. The advancement committee, we essentially assign 2 people to review that, and we call that the review group or the review committee. And what they do is they dig through all of that with due diligence, and they create a summary of the findings. The summary goes to the full advancement committee, and we're gonna essentially decide what our position is. Our position is either that we think that the Scout Executive should grant a 3-month extension. We think that National should look at this. We don't think it merits an extension, whatever it is. We take the position back to the Scout and the unit leader, and we say, would you like to proceed? So if it's, we don't think you have a case, he can proceed anyway. And if that's the case, we proceed, right? The Scout gets to decide. But then we take the position paper and it goes to the Scout Executive. And if we're recommending that the Scout Executive grant the 3-month extension and the Scout Executive feels like it's appropriate, he can grant it, or he can pass that packet, that time extension packet, on to National. If it's granted locally, one of the things that happens is that the Scout Executive or someone at council has the ability to go into my.scouting. There's a special flag that they will switch. The Scout, and that'll automatically give a 3-month extension, always 3 months. If you need more than 3 months, you got to go through National. So you only get 3 months in this, and it's an automatic 3 months. Everyone gets 3 months if you qualify. And a couple things, I forgot something I wanted to mention with that. Thinking, I lost it. So gosh, I wish I remember. It was good too. Anyway, I can't remember what the last point was, but it doesn't matter. You know, just keep your eyes open. I'm sure we'll be publishing more information about these things. Work with us. You know, we definitely want to work with you guys. And if you have any suggestions or, you know, some idea about what we're doing wrong, please let us know. Oh, one thing I did want to, district redistricting. What's going to happen? This is a complicated factor, right? What's going to happen if I have time extension requests while the redistricting is going on? That was the last point I wanted to make. And essentially what's going to happen is that until, you know, there'll be a little bit of a gap between, you know, when the new district advancement chairs take over, and it might be a week or two, I don't know. But in that time period, what will probably happen is that the existing advancement chairs or other highly qualified advancement professionals in the council who are also members of the advancement committee will take over and service these EGLE extensions. So we don't hold up any of the extensions. This extension thing, by the way, the Scout executive's ability to grant extensions only goes through September 30th. Oh, and one more thing. This is also another thing I wanted to mention is I've been trying to figure out is what happens if 3 months isn't enough, right? So I've been talking to the Area 2 Advancement Chair and also now to the Northeast Region Advancement Chair. And this is the guidance that I got back today, because I can foresee a situation where you have an 18-year-old right now, or very close to being 18 years old, and they apply for an extension and they get the 3-month extension due to COVID-19. And then the COVID-19 restrictions don't lift for 2.5 months. And effectively that scout got a couple of weeks, or maybe he got nothing. Maybe they don't live for more than that. Let's hope that that's not the case. But the upshot is that 3 months may not be long enough if the scout is applying right now and he's very close to his or her 18th birthday. And so the guidance from on high came down today that in that scenario, you would still apply for the extension and that we would hope that National will resolve this issue sometime in the future. So that's the best case guidance that I can get on the topic. But I know that that issue is out there, and I'm pretty sure that National will do something about it. I'm really happy with what they've done so far to try to expedite the process, and I can't imagine that they won't continue. But this question is on their radar. It did get forwarded all the way to Northeast Region. It also got forwarded down to National, so I'm sure that it's on their radar. And with that, I don't have anything else. So it's back to you, Chip.
Excellent. Thank you, Rang, for an amazing, informative position or stance where we are with advancement. I'd just like to end with thanking all of my fellow panelists for tonight's roundtable. If any questions arise from anybody, feel free to drop a line on the Facebook comment, wherever it is. I don't know. I don't really comment on Facebook, but hey, leave a message on Facebook or send your friendly professional an email, and we'll make every effort to answer that question. You can always reach me at bigchefchip@yahoo.com, and I will answer your question as quickly as I can. With that, a scout is cheerful. These are crazy and bizarre times, but for scouting programs, we have a unique opportunity to be seen and heard while almost every other youth program has gone dark. We need to demonstrate how to turn life's lemons into lemonade and have fun doing it. Scouters don't let themselves get cranky, but instead model the Scout Law for their youth. Once again, thank you and have a good night.